Bring to the mic now another amazing Brooklyn night, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Yvette Clarke.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Sewell. I am Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and I proudly represent New York's 9th Congressional District, which is in central and southwest Brooklyn. I want to thank my esteemed colleague, Representative Terry Sewell. Her leadership has been tremendous and unrelenting in reintroducing the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act in the 119th Congress, as well as all of my colleagues assembled here, the leadership of the Democratic Caucus, and the leadership of our affinity caucuses. Voting rights is and has always been the CBC's North Star. The late Congressman John Lewis said, "The vote is precious. It is almost sacred. It is the most powerful, nonviolent tool we have in a democracy." Right now, as my colleagues have indicated, that tool is under threat. At a time when our democracy is under constant siege, we must do all we can to protect the sacred right to vote. As we speak, extremist Republicans at the local, state, and national levels are running the table with every tactic in their arsenal to keep Black people from the ballot box. To date, hundreds of bills to restrict voting access have been introduced in states around the country with the aim of closing polling locations, curbing early voting, voting by mail, and imposing stricter voter ID requirements. These efforts are coordinated. They are well-funded, and they are targeting our communities. The question now is, what are we going to do to stop it? For generations, we have marched, fought, and even died for the right to vote. And it is a shame that partisan politics have brought us to this point that we cannot agree that access to the ballot box should be a right afforded to every American. Since the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was enacted, it has been reauthorized 5 times with large bipartisan majorities, most recently in 2006, as was indicated by Congresswoman Sewell, when it passed unanimously in the U.S. Senate, 98-0, and was signed by Republican President George W. Bush. We cannot and will not allow MAGA extremists to tear down our democracy. The CBC will continue to fight against the voter suppression that plagues our country and impedes access to the ballot box, particularly in Black communities. So enough is enough. Protecting Americans' access to the ballot box should not be a partisan issue. The CBC is calling on Republicans to work with Democrats to pass the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act to restore and modernize the protections of the VRAA to prevent states from erecting new barriers to the ballot box. With that, as we say,